I've noticed we're losing subscribers. Not the YouTube kind, but the kind that swore they'd be in my life forever. Funny how that works. One day you're surrounded by people who claim to love you, and the next, you're watching them walk away like you were just another phase in their lives. By the way, if you're here, do me a favor, subscribe. It's free, and unlike some people in my life, you won't regret sticking around. My stepfather took everything from me, so I became a millionaire and got my revenge. It still doesn't feel real. Even now, as I sit in this apartment, surrounded by everything that reminds me of her, I can't process it. I keep waiting to wake up, for my phone to ring, for her to call me like she always does, like she did just hours ago. But she won't. It's 3:51 a.m. in Berlin. My boyfriend and I were just finishing a movie when the knock came at the door. The kind of knock that sends ice through your veins before you even understand why. And then the police were standing there, and everything I thought was real, everything I thought was safe, shattered. My mother was dead. I don't know how to exist in a world where that sentence is true. I don't know how to make sense of it, how to breathe in a reality where she no longer does. The police just called again. My stepfather is dead too. He killed himself. And I wish I could destroy him. I wish I could make him feel the depth of the agony he's left behind. But he took the coward's way out, and now all I have left is this crushing, hollow emptiness. I don't even know why I'm posting this. I never post anything. I usually just scroll, a silent observer in the background. But right now I feel like the world should know. The whole world should know what was taken from me. My mother was the most incredible person. My idol, my heart, my home. And now she's gone. It started like any other night. My boyfriend and I were at the park playing speedminton when my mom called. She said she was coming home. I asked if everything was okay. She told me yes, not to worry. That my boyfriend was still welcome to come over. I didn't know that would be the last time I'd ever hear her voice. We got home. She wasn't there. I wasn't worried, not at first. She and my stepfather had been together for a long time. They fought sometimes, but they always made up just as quickly. When she didn't answer my calls, I assumed they had worked things out. But by then he had already stabbed her. The thought makes me physically sick. To write it, to see it, to know it's true. The police came at 3 a.m. I don't even remember opening the door. Just the words. The weight of them slamming into me. My mother was gone. My boyfriend called my best friend and she rushed over in a taxi. Everything after that is a blur. I remember typing the first post because I didn't know what else to do. I just wanted to scream into the void, to let the internet carry my pain somewhere outside of me. And then hours later, the police called again. My stepfather had driven to the countryside, to the small lake house my mother loved. The one she cared for like it was her child, planting flowers and tending to her little garden every weekend. He killed himself there. The rage inside me is something I've never known before. I loved him. He was a part of my life, my family. And now I want to rip him apart. I want to scream at him to make him feel what he's done. But he's gone. Just like my mother. And I am left here, drowning in the silence, unsure of how to move forward. I don't know what I want to accomplish with this. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Maybe I just need someone, anyone, to hear me. To know this is real. It's 3:51 a.m. in Berlin. My boyfriend and I were watching a movie, trying to lose ourselves in something mindless, something easy. Then the police knocked. It sounds so normal yet so final. My mother was dead. The words still don't make sense. My stepfather, her husband, took her from me. And then, as if to escape the weight of his own actions, he ran. Coward. He fled to my mother's favorite place. Her small lake house, the place she poured her heart into, the garden she nurtured like it was her child. And there he ended his own life. I wish I could destroy him myself. I wish I could scream in his face, ask him why, make him feel even an ounce of the agony he's left me with. But I can't. He's gone, leaving only this endless emptiness behind. I haven't slept. I don't even know how to anymore. Sleep used to be my talent. My mother used to tease me for it, waking me up if I stayed in bed too long. But now she's not here. And every inch of this apartment is filled with her. Yesterday I saw the news. I saw a picture of a blue body bag being loaded into a van. My mother was in that bag. That was her. My beautiful, strong, loving mother. And I couldn't do anything but stare. I keep replaying the night over and over, trying to piece together something that will make this all feel real. Maybe if I write it again it'll sink in. My boyfriend and I had been at the park that evening, playing speedminton when my mother called. She said she was coming home. I asked if she was okay. She told me yes, not to worry. Told me my boyfriend could come over if he wanted. I said okay. I told her I'd see her in a moment. That was the last time I ever spoke to her. We got home. She wasn't there. I wasn't worried. She and my stepfather loved each other, but they argued sometimes. They always made up. When she didn't answer my calls, I assumed they had. But by then he had already stabbed her. The thought makes me physically sick. I tried calling her, texting, calling him. Nothing. And still I wasn't worried. How could I have known? The police came at 3 a.m., told me she was gone. Stayed in the apartment while my boyfriend called my best friend, who rushed over in a taxi. After that, everything is a blur. I remember smashing glasses, crying, screaming into the void, into the internet, into the nothingness of the world. I remember waking up to a world without her. Today I had to make the calls. My grandparents, her brother, her friends. I had to say the words out loud. I had to make it real. And still I feel nothing but rage and emptiness. I had to call his children today. My stepfather's kids. I don't know how I did it, how I found the words to tell them that their father, the man they trusted, was a murderer. That my mother, the most beautiful and kind soul, was gone because of him. I could hear the silence on the other end of the line, the disbelief. How do you process that? How do you reconcile the fact that the person who raised you, who kissed your forehead as a child, could do something so monstrous? I feel sick for them. For all of us. The phone hasn't stopped ringing. Messages, calls, people crying, asking if this is real. And I have to keep repeating it over and over again. My mother is gone. He killed her. He ran. He took his own life. It's like a script I never wanted to memorize, but now it's all I know. Telling my grandparents was the worst. My granddad just kept screaming, no, no, not her. And I had to sit there, helpless, listening to his grief swallow him whole. I have to go to the police today. Give a statement. Talk about their relationship, about what I knew. I have to be there in a few hours and I haven't slept. I can't eat. Just the thought of food makes me want to throw up. I don't even know why I'm writing this. Maybe because in this sea of grief, of endless pain, the kindness of strangers has been a tiny anchor. Your messages, your words, they reminded me that there are still good people in this world. I know I need a lawyer. I know I need to take care of myself. My dad is sleeping in the other room and we have to figure out how to get through this together. But honestly, a part of me wonders what the point is. I've fought through so much in my life. A past I thought I escaped. A world that tried to break me before. I fought through it all. I overcame a rape, a drug problem. And just when things were finally getting better, just when my life was stabilizing, this. But I can't let go. Because I love my mom too much to disappoint her. Because my dad needs me. And because, despite everything, there's still a part of me that wants to fight. Somewhere in this darkness, I have to find a way forward. I wanted to update all of you in case anyone was still listening. That first night when I posted, I was drunk. Numb. Shattered. The police had just left. I didn't know what else to do but scream into the void of the internet. And somehow, that void answered. Someone sent me a poem. Do not stand at my grave and weep. It became part of her memorial invitation. Another person, Bianca, painted a portrait of my mother and sent it to me. To those people, I don't even have the words to thank you. I'm sitting at my mother's desk right now. In her little office. In this apartment that still smells like her. And I am trying to hold on. It has been 23 days. 23 long, agonizing days since the police stood at my door at 3 a.m., their faces grim, their voices careful. Since they told me my mother was gone. Since my stepfather ran like a coward and ended his own life. Since that moment, my life has been a whirlwind of grief, rage, and unbearable silence. Some days I scream until my throat is raw. Other days I throw things as if shattering glass could somehow express the chaos inside me. And then there are the days where I feel nothing at all, just a heavy, aching emptiness that swallows me whole. People keep sharing that famous post about grief with me, and God, it's so accurate. The waves come without warning. They drown me when I least expect it. And the worst part? I haven't been alone for a single second since it happened. Everyone says it's good for me, that I need people around me. But sometimes I just want to be alone in the wreckage of my own pain. And then there's the media. The endless cycle of misinformation, the false narratives. I didn't want to address it, but I need to set the record straight. My mother and stepfather were together for 8 years. He only moved to Berlin for her. He had children from a previous marriage, but I was my mother's only daughter. He didn't call me to confess, he called some random acquaintance, a man he sometimes walked his dog with. By then he was already at the summer house. My mother had been dead for 2 hours. The summer house wasn't his. It was hers. Her pride and joy. She poured every penny she had into renovating it with her own 2 hands. And now, the place she loved so much, the place that was supposed to be her escape, became the setting of her murderer's final act. The police came to my apartment that night because they were afraid he might come for me next. He still had a key. I was watching a movie with a friend when the doorbell rang and my whole world shattered. The next morning the news spread like wildfire. His name was connected to some celebrity, and suddenly my mother's murder was nothing more than a sensational headline. But let me make this clear. He and that celebrity were barely acquaintances. There was no reason to drag him into this. I didn't post about it for attention. I posted because I was drowning. Because I needed someone, anyone, to hear me. And now here I am, 23 days later. Writing this from the only home I've ever known, the one that still carries her scent, her presence. Trying to make sense of a world without her in it. Because this isn't just my loss. This is the world's loss. My mother was extraordinary. Not just to me but to everyone who knew her. She had this incredible, infectious laugh. The kind that made you laugh too even if you didn't know why. She was goofy and full of life, always telling stories with wide gestures and eyes that sparkled with excitement. She had so much integrity. So much kindness. She wasn't just my mother. She was my best friend. She put herself through school, earned a degree in art history, and worked 100 different jobs just to keep us afloat. She was a hippie at heart, free-spirited and endlessly creative. And now she's gone. I keep thinking about how unfair it is. How someone like her, someone so full of light, could be taken by a man who didn't deserve her in the first place. But I won't let her be forgotten. I want the whole world to see her. To know her. Because my stepfather may have stolen her from me, but he will never erase her legacy. My mother had a kind of magic about her. She could take the most random scraps of food and turn them into something amazing. Noodles and carrots? Somehow delicious. She let milk go bad on purpose just to make her own ricotta. Our kitchen was filled with jars of homemade chutneys, jams and vinegars, bottles of her syrups and hot sauces. I used to come home, open the fridge and ask, which of these are ready to eat and which are still science experiments? Since she's been gone, I keep finding half-finished projects, mystery concoctions she was working on, things I'll never get to ask her about. It guts me. There are so many things I'll never get to ask her. I remember the beginning of the pandemic. I had just moved back in with her. One day she ordered 14 different bottles of white wine, and every night we'd try one while cooking dinner. I'd take notes on the color, the taste, and we'd rate them on a ridiculous little scale we made up. She was so funny. And so forgiving. When I was younger we had loud, messy fights, but she would always come into my room 5 minutes later, apologize and tell me she loved me more than anything in the world. We said I love you to each other all the time. Just randomly. Just because. And now I hold on to that. I cling to it. Because I did have something rare. She wasn't just my mother. She was my best friend. My idol. My role model. If I can be even half the person she was, generous, hilarious, creative, forgiving, human, then I will be lucky. I see her face everywhere. I hear her laugh in my head. I would give anything to have her back. She saved me. More times than I can count. If it weren't for her, I probably wouldn't be here at all. She pulled me out of my darkest places, loved me unconditionally. And he took her from me. I've been trying to piece it all together, but the more I learn, the worse it gets. I need to say this, he wasn't always a monster to me. I loved him. I trusted him. He was like family. I had no idea what he was capable of. I never would have put my mother in harm's way. But now I realize, maybe she knew. Maybe that's why she kept so much from me. He killed her in his apartment. Then, instead of calling the police, he drove to her country house, her sanctuary, the place she poured her soul into. He parked like normal. He greeted a neighbor. Like nothing had happened. I always thought it was a moment of rage. That he lost control. That he realized what he did and ended himself because he couldn't live with it. But now, the more I learn, the more it seems like the opposite. That he planned to die and took her with him. Since the night it happened, the police have been asking about their laptops. Both are missing. The cases were found empty. His phone is gone too. My mother's phone is the only one that remains and they gave it to me. And then there's the biggest lie of all. The media keeps reporting that she had multiple stab wounds. She didn't. There was only one. One precise, deliberate wound. That wasn't a crime of passion. That was cold-blooded. I don't know why I'm writing all of this. I don't know why I'm sharing it. Maybe because if I don't, I feel like I might explode. I have so much anger. So much rage. Sometimes it bursts out of me and I scream at people. Other times I just collapse into sobs. I punch pillows. I smash things. And then, sometimes I feel okay. And that almost scares me more. I slept 2 nights at the cabin. But in the dark, Every shadow looked like him. I started locking my doors at night. Murder used to feel like something distant. Something that happened to other people in other places. But now it's here. It's my life. And I refuse to let him take any more from us. This was her home. Her safe place. I won't let him taint it. I just miss her so much. It hasn't even been that long, and I already feel like I'm suffocating under the weight of her absence. I want her to hug me. I want her to say my name, to tell me she loves me and that she thinks I'm amazing. I want to wake up in the morning and hear her ask me what I dreamt about. I want to sit at the kitchen table with her, talk about my stories and poems, hear her tell me about the book she was writing, the one she will never get to finish. I don't know how to get past this. I don't know if I ever will. All I know is that I have to carry her with me, and that I will never forgive him. A lesson from this heartbreaking story. Grief is messy. It's raw, unpredictable, and it never truly goes away, it just changes shape. When someone we love is taken from us, especially in such a senseless and cruel way, it can feel impossible to move forward. But one thing remains true: love never dies. The memories, the lessons, the laughter, they stay with us. They shape who we are. If there's anything to take from this story, it's this: tell the people you love that you love them. Hug them tighter. Say the words. Be present. Because life is unpredictable, and the things we take for granted today might be gone tomorrow. Does this story resonate with you? Have you experienced loss, grief, or betrayal in a way that changed your world? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If this story moved you, please like, share, and comment. Let's open up the conversation about grief, healing, and the power of love.